Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for having me come out. Durham, please make some noise for yourselves. So I like to do that everywhere I go. So when they gave me this topic, they said invest. And for me as a creative, when I hear invest, I get a little nervous because it has to do with money. I don't like to necessarily play with that kind of thing. So I wanted to know, how can we be creative about the topic? And the only way I could be creative is to make this thing really, really personal. Your unfair advantage, what is that? Like, you could read this and probably figure out what I mean when I say your unfair advantage. But like, that's where I'm at right now. So what is my unfair advantage? I think that's the best way for me to deliver this to you guys. My unfair advantage is this, all of that. Yeah, that's what I do. Principal, creative director, strategist, musician, visual artist, videographer, engineer, photographer, web developer, computer hardware technician, event producer, entrepreneur, advisor. Did I say entrepreneur, advisor, teacher, graphic designer, brand strategy, consultant, researcher. I've had 2 cups of coffee, that's all. Only 2. So investing in your unfair advantage, what does that mean? So I can do these things. Should I do these things? No, I should not do all these things. But for me, what is going to bring the biggest impact? What is the biggest impact in that configuration of skills? How can I make it a difference in the world, in my company? What does that look like? And what could that look like for y'all? I want to talk about that. So your unfair advantage, in order to even get there, you kind of have to define it, all right? And I want to define it by using money. Let's use money since we're talking investment. And who better to talk money but Warren Buffett? Warren Buffett said, the key to investing is not... y'all, it's too early for all this. All right, Warren Buffett. Let me do it right. Warren Buffett said, the key to investing is not assessing how much an industry is going to affect society or how much it will grow, but rather determining the competitive advantage of any given company and, above all, the durability of that advantage. The products and services that have wide, sustainable moats around them are the ones that deliver rewards to investors. So what that means is when Warren Buffett decides to make investments, he's investing in companies where the value proposition is so strong that they are unique. They have an unfair advantage. So what can we learn about ourselves from businesses? What can we learn about ourselves from the way companies are run and how brutal they can be? Well, let's break it down like this. For me, when I define what an unfair advantage is, these are the things that I kind of think about. I think about talents, skills, identity and perspective. I put those 2 together for a reason. Community and market. So these things to me, now they may be different to you guys, but I'm hosting, so I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of my brain. So to me, these were things that were important. These are things that for Tobias Rose makes up his unfair advantage. So I want to talk about what these things are. So talents, obviously, we can kind of figure out what talents are. Those are the things that you're born with, hopefully. They're things that you're just naturally good at for some strange reason. Maybe you just grew up working on a farm, and so you know a lot about cows. So when it's time to milk cows, you are the cow milking person. You are the best cow milker that society could bring us because you grew up milking all the cows. Maybe that's your talent. I don't know. I don't even know why I said that. It's too early. Your skills, same deal. That's the thing that you've been working on that you're good at. Obviously, we go to school and we get skills. We learn how to be a doctor, things of that nature. But identity and perspective, that's something that's really important to me, and I want to talk about that for a second. I also teach at UNC Chapel Hill. Now, unfortunately, I'm not teaching this semester. Grayson, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Shout out to Grayson over there for teaching my class this semester. Thank you so much. But I want to tell you guys something that I tell my students every semester that I teach that I think is important. But consider this. That coffee, is it good? How much coffee have you drank in your life? In my entire life? Your entire life? A shit ton. Okay. So she has had a shit ton of coffee, everyone. But you've tasted a lot of foods, you've smelled a lot of things, you've experienced a lot of things, a lot of places. Every experience, every place you've been, every food you've tasted is part of your unfair advantage. It shapes your entire perspective. No one in here can be as good of a me as I can be because I'm me, you see? So I can't be you. I'm not gonna be as good of a Candy as Candy can be. Why would I try? But What you have to realize is all those things you bring to the table. I can draw. Yeah, I love computers. I love all those things. But you're not going to be able to do all those things the way that I do them because you're not me. Use that and own it. All those things that you guys can do, every single thing that you have experienced, that you've smelled, that you've tasted, every food, all of those things shape your perspective and they make you extremely powerful. But you still have to listen to other people. That doesn't mean that all these things make you superior. This is just a flower that we should smell. So really understand what I mean when I say that. For me, my identity and perspective is shaped by, yes, my grandfather worked at North Carolina Mutual. My grandmother, she owned her own beauty shop. And so that's what I saw growing up. So to me, it was normal. Entrepreneurship, yeah, that's an option. I see that. I can do that. My grandmother did that. She owned a few beauty shops. It was normal to me. But imagine how many people it's not normal to. That shaped my perspective. So that's part of the thing that helped me out, being exposed to that. What else makes me superior of all Tobias Roses in the world? Now, there's actually another guy named Tobias who is like a doctor. He's like at the Max Planck Institute or something. He's really dope. So community and market, Durham is what brings me power. Durham gives me powers. Durham makes me stronger. This community, I love y'all. I love Raleigh, but I really love Durham. I'm not gonna lie. I live in Durham, so I have to say that. But Durham, when I walk around and I'm dealing with people, it feels like family. I actually said it the other day when I was at a bar. I'm sitting with one of our county commissioners talking, and I said, yeah, we all family. Imagine me at a bar with an elected official. It's weird. I was trying to say community and family slipped out. And I thought about it, and I said, you know what? I kind of do feel like that when I'm walking around here in Durham. I do feel like some of y'all are my little cousins and uncles and aunts, and that's a beautiful feeling, but that's a part of my unfair advantage, that I know that my community is that dope. Every community has its own set of attributes that makes it special. And for me in Durham, part of that was the Black Wall Street story. So for you guys, how can you internalize this? I do want to leave you with something. I want to give you some things that you can use through the day. Hopefully this is a little bit of that breakfast. I don't know. I want to give you some food. How do we make investments? When do we see capital gains, and what about payoff? Let's try to dig into that a little bit today. Like I said, we're going to use these financial terms to do some things today. All right? We're going to try to cover it all. So, pool your passions, skills, and talent together. Has anyone ever taken the time to sit down and write down all the things that they can do? You have, because you're Candy. Has anyone else aside from Candy done that? Have you taken those things and just put them together and figured out where do those fit in society? What can these things do? What is this configuration of things good for? For example, with me, okay, I'm good at math. I can write. I like to design. What can I do with those skills? Let me start a design firm, because now I can do some of those numbers. I can write a proposal. I can use my tools and my talents to run and start a company. So I was aware of the things that I brought to the table. So this also goes to being aware of how valuable you are. I see some people looking like, damn, that's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, you be aware of how dope you are. Stop following your dreams, all right? You've heard this before, follow your dreams. Has everyone heard this? You heard this in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, all the way up and through college. What I want you guys to do is develop your dreams. Build your dreams. Don't follow them, work on them. How can you develop that thing that you've been thinking about? What is it going to take in order for you to build that company you've been thinking about all these years? Or sell art, or create a movement, or build an event, or host something, or get that promotion. You have to build it. Build your dreams, develop your dreams, just like these people. You guys know who those people are? Y'all seen that picture before? Yeah, these are some of the people who are working on Black Wall Street. John Merrick is right there in the middle. John Merrick is the founder of North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance and Provident Company. That was the original name back in 1898. And that's the reason why I named that area Provident 1898 and Mutual Plaza. Yes, our company was the ones that named that. And that was the reason why. The significance behind naming it that was that when John Merrick first started the company, it did not do so well. A lot of people don't know that, but for the first 2 years, North Carolina Mutual and Provident Company did not do well at all. And it wasn't until he got with his partners when he realized, oh my gosh, my assets, my people, my friends who know how to do these things. You know, it wasn't just Merrick anymore. Now you have Dr. Moore. You have Aaron Moore right there with him. You know, now you've got Spalding. You've got the whole team that you guys have probably heard of before in the room at the same time collaborating. And what he realized was this dream I have, I need help. Fast forward, why do we have Royce the 5'9" sitting in a room with his manager, Aurelie from Coco Cinnamon, and that's Gabe back there from Runaway, and then that's the back of my head. So this was Black Wall Street Homecoming, building my dreams. Oh man, what is that thing that John Merrick was trying to do? Was he just trying to build an insurance company? What was it that Dr. Shepard was trying to do? Was he just trying to build a school? Or was he trying to show me that it could be done? Was that part of the reason why these people did these things? For legacy. It can be done. And I don't want that to die. And part of the thing that we did in not wanting it to die was start this thing called the Black Wall Street Homecoming. We sat in my office and we knew that we wanted to bring venture capitalists to town. We knew that we wanted to inspire. We knew that we wanted to do something that was going to expand the Black Wall Street legacy. And so, Black Wall Street Homecoming. Let's bring everyone back home. Let's get the community together. Let's talk. Let's nurture. Let's inspire each other. Let's educate each other. And that's what we got to. And I wanted our community to be a part of this. So Aurelie, super important story to me because Aurelie, I met her when she was just pushing around a cart. And I said, oh man, you selling coffee out of a cart? How you keep it hot? That was all I cared about. How do you keep it hot? And I can't answer that question to this day. But now she has Coco Cinnamon. She's got a couple of them, a few of them. So I'm incredibly proud of it. But the Black Wall Street legacy is inspiring. It is showing the different shades of a success. This guy right here got really excited, and I've been working with him for a while. And he said, man, what should I do? I want to do these things. Go further, and I'll support you. And part of that investing is investing in other people. I'll support you. So I worked with him in designing all these pieces and taking pictures and stuff. So investing your talent configuration, experience. That's one of the takeaways from this first segment, all right? Make sure you guys are experiencing things. Go on vacation. Vacations aren't as expensive as they used to be. Now that we have Airbnb, you can drive up the street and stay in a little spot for $20 up in Hillsborough. It's a vacation. Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all something real quick, because y'all think I'm playing. We went to Richmond, Virginia, of all places. That's funny. I forgot y'all were here. Went to Richmond, Virginia, and stayed on a houseboat on the James River. Yo, Richmond is dope. And this is what I realized. This place has been 2 hours away from me this whole time, and I'm just going over here. You got to stop and enjoy what's around you. That's a part of this thing. When I'm talking about investing in your unfair advantage, you've got to build on to these unfair advantages. You've got to make investments, and the way that you make investments in these unfair advantages is by experiencing new things and building onto these talents, building onto the community's talents. Nurture your unfair advantages. We don't do enough of that. Y'all ever spoken to someone that said, man, I used to draw back in school. Remember that? Man, you so dope. I could draw back in the day, or I used to do gymnastics. Like, why aren't you still doing it? They're not making those investments. They may be incredibly talented, but they're not making those investments. So what happens to skills and talents when you don't invest in them? They start to falter. They start to weaken. And sometimes those things that you were passionate about, you find that you're not as passionate about them anymore because they're harder. Capital gain. Let's get back to the money. What is that? A rise in value on your assets that gives it a higher worth than its purchase price. Think about that and think about what I just said. This is what a capital gain is. You bought it at a certain price, and now it's worth more. You were born with it, now it's worth more. You learned it in school, now it's worth more, but only if you nurture your investments. Now, your passion. In terms of these assets I'm talking about, your passion is probably one of your most important assets, because your passion is that energy. That's that positive energy that moves you forward. That is that vibe, passion. But you're not going to get it unless you work on it. Unless you work on it. Unless you work on it. Now, Cicely Mitchell came to me back in, I'm going to go back. She came back in 2010, 2009, I think, and said, hey, man, I want to work with you. I got this thing that I'm doing called The Art of Cool. And I said, oh, okay, what do you need? Well, we need all these things. At the time, there was just no way we could make the money work. But I said, look, I can give you whatever advice you need. I did want to work with her. I tried to cut us some deal. We just couldn't make it work. And I just stayed around as kind of a de facto advisor. Like whenever she needed anything, it's still to this day, just as a friend, up until we got to this point. This was about 2 years ago in 2018 when she decided to sell the company, but it was an opportunity because Black Wall Street and the Art of Cool Music Festival were able to work together. Now, let me tell you how a perfect storm can happen. Perfect storm happened because they were also a client at Complex Creative. So I was able to creatively direct where they were going to go and direct the feel for the festival through my company. So this is the way I wanted to feel. These are the purples that I want. I wanted to be purples and pinks and blues. I wanted to feel magical. And they took that and said, okay, cool, boom. Their people are going off of this vibe that our team created. So that was our investment. This is important to us. Our community is important to us. And then Chantal, she works with Durham Central Park. And so she came to us and said, look, I want to figure out a way we can support the park and make them cool. How can we make them cooler? How can we invest into this particular asset? How can we make them cooler? Let's do it. Let's make playlists something really, really funky and exciting. And that's what we did. So this was another place where we invested into one of our assets, which we feel is one of our unfair advantages, the community. And then when it comes to our clients, who has seen this logo around Durham? Who lives in Durham? Yeah, so you guys have probably seen a lot of this. Our company did this. So, well, we didn't do that. We just did the logo. I won't take responsibility. So, Gateway, another situation, and it's just really cool to see them around town. But again, we invested into our skills. We invested in our company. We invested in our community. We want our clients to look better. We want people to be better. We want people and their companies and our community to be better. But that's not going to happen unless you make investments. That's not going to happen unless you volunteer, unless you work on those skills. All of these things. Do you see how broad this is? Do you guys understand what I mean when I say this now? It's not just you when I'm talking about these unfair advantages. Your unfair advantages include the things around you, your people, your friends, your family, your unit, your tribe. It includes all those things. How do you get those gains? I'm not going to read all of that. But what I will tell you is sometimes when we think about value, people always put money on it. There's always, people put money on it a lot. Like, man, it's not worth enough to me. Now, money is a tool, but far too often we let it get in the way and we let it prevent us from gains on our unfair advantage. We let it prevent us from getting better. Volunteer. Make your money, but also make time to invest in your community, invest in the future. Work at a company, build something that allows your skills to grow. You keep hearing me say this, invest in your community. You heard this word. You hear people saying gifts, all right? You hear people saying that you have gifts. You have things you can do. Why aren't you taking advantage of your gifts? Your gifts aren't necessarily for you. And we get so, what's the word? Selfish. It's not doing anything for me right now, so why should I do it? Maybe you get some kind of fulfillment out of it and you don't see any way that it's making you money, but those gifts, those things are not necessarily for you. Sometimes they're for the world. Sometimes they're in place to move your entire community forward or the world. Presence. Your gifts are presents for the world. All right? So for me, I also know how to talk. I've been on the radio. When I was in college, I probably still have some of the radio voice. Yeah. That's called knowing how to equalize your voice before it enters the mic. Sexy style. I wasn't the only, fellas, I was not the only one that answered the phone like that back in school. Is Tobias there? Hello? No. How old are you? 16, baby. So knowing how to do that, Chantal came to me with a bright idea. She said, well, let's record it. Let's put it on film, and let's do this conversations thing. So we started inviting people into our office. This is me with my friend W. I don't know how many people have heard of Art Beats and Lyrics or heard of W, but we did a conversation here at Complex. But the really cool thing about this is just bringing people, it's like bringing people home. Like, yeah, you're in my living room right now. So this was another opportunity for us to use those things in a different, unique way. This is some of W stuff. Why is this important? This is important because of a conversation him and I had about creating a future that you want to see. This work is colorful. Some of this work kind of ventures into Afrofuturism. And that is us imagining a future that we want to be a part of. The same thing with women right now with this current exhibit. But that's part of the responsibility, in my opinion, of artists. And what do artists do? They're making this investment back into their community by doing this, by exploring these concepts. They're painting something that sometimes is hard for us to visualize. And so our culture, the things that we do, those gifts that we provide, they shift the entire culture. And sometimes your music, your vibe, the things that you do, you never know when you're the one that is leading those efforts. Sometimes you have to look around and just watch and see what's happening. Additionally, you never know when that little nugget of advice that you give someone can make them go a long, long way. Like, Marlena, that's not how you pose. You gotta, all right. This was actually in the middle of a photo shoot with Rhapsody. So if anyone knows, the girl that's sitting over there on the right, Rhapsody, she is now a Grammy-nominated rapper. She had I think she was top album, one of the top albums last year, I think it was. Yeah. Was it last year? And it was funny because I'm going through photos and I see this picture of her where I'm trying to show her how to pose. And now she's doing songs with Kendrick Lamar and Anderson .Paak. And she's signed to Rock Nation now, so she hangs out with Jay-Z. And then you got this guy over here with his fingers over his face, who came to me after school and said, came to me straight out of college and said, man, you know, I just need a chance. I'm drawing, I'm doing all this ink stuff, and I need a job. Like, I just need something. I said, dude, I can't do anything for you, but why don't you freelance? Why don't we do some projects together? And so this was me not knowing how to use PowerPoint, and I said, you know what? I like it like that, because I'm not gonna change it. But this was just detail of a piece that he was working on for the Justice League. So it's funny, when I talk about investing in an unfair advantage, and I talk about community, and I talk about you, there's also these other people out here. You just never know where they're gonna go. You never know what that little piece of advice, that little thing you gave someone, that little investment that you made just in the conversation, what it can do for someone. Gabe came to me and said, hey, I wanna start this thing called Runaway. Showed me the picture and everything, and the next thing I know, here we are. He had the shop, and still has the company. And then Rhapsody, you know, I'm showing her how to pose for the picture, and now look at her. I'm not gonna show, she knows what she's doing now. But it's really cool to see these types of things happen. So I wanna leave you with this. When is the payoff? And I'm gonna wrap it up now, because I know y'all are like, yeah, come on, son. No one said that to me just now. They didn't say, come on, son. What you contribute can move the entire family, not community. I said family because family is just such a strong word. It can move the entire family forward. Be brave, dream, and never feel like any less of a person for helping someone else achieve their dreams. You know, part of what I want to do is make people's lives better. That's why I get so involved with everything. Like I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I know that about myself. That's part of the reason why I stay in my office. because I know that if someone tells me something, I'm gonna say, yeah, man, how can I help you? Nope, let me just stay in my office and try to help those people out that already agreed to help. So once you master all these things, what I'm hoping you can look forward to is fulfilling work. I want you guys to feel like you've done something, all right? Think about this throughout the day while you're working, like, man, is this really what I need to be, is this really making me better? Or is this making someone better? Or how can I reconfigure my work so that we can make a bigger impact? Is there something that I'm ignoring right now because I'm at work like, yeah, I mean, these people ain't paying me like, $12 an hour or something. So maybe there's something that you're not ignoring because of that. But really, really consider that. And I know I need to wrap it up. So in closing, I will leave you with this because I've said a lot today. And I want to make sure that you guys have a really, really strong takeaway that's going to carry you throughout the rest of the day, all right? Your most valuable asset is you. Protect your neck.
Yes, because Wu-Tang is forever.
Wu-Tang is forever. Thank you all for having me out here.
I'm actually going to start. You put yourself out there. You do so much for this community. You give your talents. You give advice. You are teaching, all of these things. Mm-hmm. What is the biggest challenge in that for you, and how have you overcome it?
This is relevant because last night I was with a friend of mine, and we talked about this. One of the challenges is really knowing what you're doing and really being aware of the things that you're bringing to the table. I'll give you an example. So last night, the friend that I was with was Fonte from Little Brother. And the conversation ventured into when people come to you and say things like, I love your music, or I love, that thing you design, and sometimes just like, thanks. And you keep it moving, and that person's like, man, yeah, that asshole. You don't think about it because you didn't really put a lot of weight into that thing you did. It's like, yeah, that was really important. So yeah, no, seriously, thank you. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you saying that. It's a different way of looking at things. So I guess for me, the challenge has been being aware of the things that's happening, being aware of the changes that are happening, and then understanding where I'm at in terms of that change. It's hard for me to be aware of things as they're happening, but then other people come to me and tell me things. So I think that's been one of the challenges. And then what I tell people a lot of times is I just woke up and realized I was driving a Maserati. Like I realized that I was driving this fully equipped car and I wasn't taking advantage of all the features. And so that was the challenge. I guess that was the reason why I framed this in the way that I framed it, because again, I'm driving this thing. I have all these powers, these superpowers, and I'm not using them all. So how can I use them and do it in a way that's fulfilling? Because I realized that when I use them, I feel better. I feel good. It's like, ooh, I felt good drawing this morning. I need to get a little bit of that out. I need to get a little bit of that out so that I can now help this organization figure out this business challenge. That little small thing that I needed to do just to get it out of my brain, let me do that. And then, yeah, maybe those things I can use in some kind of book later on. So I guess that's where that came about. And if you do follow Fonte, you've probably seen the tweets, the Black History tweets, where he's like, they're funny, they're hilarious. But the conversation came about when I said, why don't we do this thing with them? And he said, man, I didn't even realize people were on it like that. So again, being aware of those things.
Okay, thank you, Tobias.
Thank you.
So you talked a lot about creative fulfillment and success and seeing all these things. What I'm kind of curious about is, can you talk about a failure? Like what was one might say was you had a big goal,
mm-hmm.
A creative goal, passion, or purpose, and you said, wow, that really did not work out the way I thought. And what did you learn from it that you carry over today?
I don't focus too hard on the failures. I don't have time to focus too long on them because I'm going to be sad. Seriously. I mean, the thing about it is this. I have a lot of aspirational goals. There are a lot of things that I want to do, and when you are in that position, you will fail. And you have to be in a mind state where you're not afraid of that anymore. So I failed in terms of people. There have been employees that I've hired, and to me, I feel like I failed because they didn't learn something as fast as I wanted them to learn it, or they didn't get to that point that I wanted them to get to, and just like, damn, what could I have done better? Or there may have been a situation where I got so busy that I forgot about something. And I'll beat myself up like, damn, I should have written that down. I'm writing down everything, but I forgot to write down that one thing, and I beat myself up over it. So there are a lot of times where that kind of failure does happen. There are times where I'm disappointed in my own performance on something, or I feel like, you know what, I should have tapped into that thing that I'm telling you guys about and really, really rocked that, and I didn't. So what I've learned to do is when that kind of stuff comes up, I note it, and then I try to figure out what can I do better the next time. Like, I try to turn myself into a sentinel. So if you guys are X-Men fans, you probably know what the Sentinels are. The Sentinels were the ones that came after X-Men. Well, I was a super geek, so I also know that the Sentinels were so strong that whatever you did to them the first time, they were gonna figure out how to block it the next time. So you can't be Storm like, I'm gonna throw lightning at you. Psh. I don't know if that's the sound it makes, but let's say she throws lightning and the Sentinel's like, oh, that hurt. And then the next time I'm gonna hit you again. And it's just like, I tricked you. I know how to block it this time. So that's the way Sentinels work, so I turned into a Sentinel. So when that failure happens, I try to learn from it and, either block it or learn from it so I can approach it differently next time. Any other preguntas? Just fun.
What can we do to support you in your work and your mission as a community?
I think that part of it is we need to communicate. I think the community communicating with each other, being a community, coming out and supporting each other, I think that's one of the ways you can support it. I like seeing the life in people. I love seeing how Durham lives. I love seeing how the city grows. I love seeing people doing things that I'm not a part of. When beats and bars happen, I was like, oh man, that's cool. I love this. Seeing more of that stuff grow, seeing ways that the community can support each other. The work that I'm doing is about building a community that supports each other. And there are a lot of communities out here that are great, but in this one, I feel that we have some of the most innovative people on the planet. So we should be able to innovate anything and everything. So to support that, I'd say just keep growing, keep getting better, keep learning, keep getting new experiences, and keep making this community better and watching out for each other. That's the other thing that's important. Watching out for your community, watching out for people, learning from each other. Somebody that looks nothing like you, that doesn't make any of the money you make, go and talk to them. It doesn't matter what color they are, how poor they are, how rich they are. I have friends that are rich. Like, I've been to their houses and I have to, front door is crazy, man. I have to do one of these to get in the front door. And then I have friends that live in the projects. And it's, I'm not gonna say I treat them the same exact way, but there's still respect on both sides of it. So it doesn't matter. Talk to them. There may be ways you can work with them. It just doesn't mean that they're any less because they make less money than you. And it doesn't mean that they're any more because they make more money than you. It just means that they have more money. That's all that means. So that's one of the things that I'd like to see more of that, like that cross, socioeconomic lines. I'd like to see more collaboration and things like that. So that supports kind of the stuff that we're doing through Black Wall Street, some of the things that I'd like to see through Complex, and in some of the conversations that are happening through conversations. Does that help contextualize it?
One more. Anyone in the back? Cool. We're all questioned out.
We're good?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.